As far as the Jade Cargill of it all, I mean, I said this in the live chat to y'all earlier this week after the Roxanne matchup, but this was not a good week for Jade Cargill and her supporters. Like y'all can, the supporters can highlight her promo about lowering down the booze and stuff like that. The booze aren't coming because she's so good and because she's a black female who's strong and independent and stuff like that. Like a lot of people want to put at that. She's just not that good for the push that she's getting. It's pretty that simple. It's either one of two things. It's either she's not that good for the push that she's getting, or WWE is doing an awful job at booking Jade Cargill. And I'm leaning towards the latter. I like what Jade offers. I've liked Jade in the past. She is the exception to the rule. I said this yesterday on the review, and I'll say it to you here and everybody watching. Jade Cargill is the exception to the rule of the person who leaves AEW and comes to WWE in a better position. Everybody else, you could say WWE has done a better job with them than their final runs in AEW. Cody is a top babyface and has stayed in the top star spot where he was never really getting that opportunity or never wanted that opportunity in AEW. CM Punk, there's a little bit of an argument there because they did do a good job with booking him in AEW, gave him a lot, but you could say you love CM Punk more in WWE than AEW, and I'd be perfectly fine with that argument. Ethan Page, by far, is like a top heel on NXT in comparison to being on Ring of Honor for like 6 months in AEW. Ricky Starks was off of TV for a year. And now it looks like he's going to be one of the top stars in NXT in the years to come. The Blake Monroe, we got to wait and see with all of that, how that's going to go. But everybody, Penta, Phoenix, like the list, Lexis King, WWE has done a better job than what they were doing when they left AEW. Jade Cargill, we are now 2 years. And I don't think a lot of people realize we are 2 years into the Jade Cargill experiment in WWE. And mind you, she spent a little over 2 years in AEW. Now compare the AEW run to the WWE run. I think that this is a 10-8 round. AEW booked Jade Cargill better than WWE. It's plain and simple because they highlighted her strengths, made her go in, hit a few moves, get in, get out, dominant champion, a heel, good on promos, good on the whole look. The look has not changed. She looks incredible. She looks like an action figure. She looks like a movie star. But as far as her strengths in the ring, WWE has done everything to highlight her weaknesses and hide her strengths. Her weaknesses is doing 10-minute matches where she has to doing 8-minute matches where she has to sell for 60% of it and do 40% moves. He did 6 moves yesterday in that matchup against Asuka. 6 moves. And none of it looked as good as Asuka. They have made her a babyface who's not a babyface like Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. No, she's a babyface that sells when she's not that good at selling. It does not make sense. And I think it was Dion or somebody else in the chat yesterday. They made the best comparison, the best analogy to this. It really is like Jade was booked like Goldberg in WCW, and WWE has decided to book Jade like Goldberg in WWE in 2003, 2004. And it's really been highlighted by this new push that she's getting into the singles status.
Yeah, and with me, I've been critical on Jade's WWE run, right? Because there was even times where people, have left comments and are thinking like, oh, bro was being tough on Jade. Oh, he comes off like a Jade Cargill hater. And it's like, it's not me hating, it's me, critiquing what I've been seeing. And if I'm seeing an individual who succeeded in one company and, we know her flaws and they hit it very well, and then we're kind of seeing that she's being exposed, how can I defend that? You know what I mean? Like, how can I sit here and say like, oh no, this is okay. Oh no, she's learning. At the end of the day, she's been there long enough to know the basics of wrestling. That's all I come from. Like, where it's like, do I expect her to be a ring general? Absolutely not. everybody's not a ring general, but I do expect a level of like, your moves looking clean, you're, being, again, the basics. And if you're somebody who can't work more than 10 minutes, then that's a problem, because it's like it shows, because the more that you're in the match, your flaws are going to show even more. And I think that's the problem with WWE, right? You're on a bigger spotlight. So it's not like you could hide no matter what. Like you can't avoid it, right? At most you could probably, NXT, which that's probably where she should have started at.
Yeah.
Um, but the reason why they didn't is because they made her such a big fucking deal when they signed her, right? It was all over all over the internet. It was all over their page alone, right? And they presented her on TV already as like this big signing. So it's like they already shot themselves on the foot by doing that. They should have just kind of built her organically. If she starts at NXT, she starts at NXT. You could bring her up less than a year. You did it with the other women. You could still brought her up less than the time that you felt like she was going to be ready. But then when the company comes on and says, "Hey, she'll be on when she's ready," and then it's like she's on, and then it's like, what did you really do with her in the performance center? Because there's no way you're telling me that this was improvement from what she was doing in AEW. With AEW, you know, they had shorter matches. She used her move sets pretty well. The one thing that I noticed with Jade always was that when there's times where she tries to do a move, she gets very unconfident and sometimes she hesitates. And that's what I noticed. And I've been seeing that a lot in WWE as well, where there's times where it kind of just looks off, where it kind of looks like she misses like a pin. I don't know what the fuck it is, and it's just like, I don't know, and she's somebody I'm like, hey, I want to cheer for her, but it's like if I'm not getting something that's good on TV, then it's like I can't sit there and hide it. I can't be excited like other people are like, oh, Queen of the Ring, she won Queen of the Ring, but it's like, no, the match sucked. I'm sorry, like I can't give passes at this point when it comes to stuff like that, because she's been there long enough to just know like this is not it. But it's like they give her a push now. Obviously people see it as this kind of win that she won the Queen of the Ring. That's good for her. It's a good push. But it's like, it, I think it's a mixture of things. I do blame partly. I do blame a big part of it. I do blame WWE for, but then also it's like she's also responsible too, because just like you've been here long enough, you've been in the wrestling business to know probably what you should be doing and what looks good and what's not good. And it's like we just haven't seen that from her. And it sucks, because I'm like, I don't want to be at that point where I'm against her, and then somebody might think I'm like a racist or something. And it's just like, no, I love Bianca. I love, if Bianca's great, you don't hear complaints about Bianca when it comes to that. So it has nothing to do with race. Naomi is having probably the best run of her character wise in her career in WWE. She was somebody that I was critical on in the past, and the stuff that she's been doing has been fucking incredible when it comes to her character work. That's something that she's worked on, right? So it has nothing to do when people try to use that as a like all black woman. It's like, no, that's not what it is. It's if you're a great wrestler, you're a great wrestler. If you're not great, you're not great. It has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with race, or it has nothing to do with gender. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, they just did her honest to God disservice of not putting her in NXT first, because we also made this argument yesterday. Lash Legend has improved leaps and bounds to the point that she's better than Jade in the ring. And when Jade comes into this company, Lash is just starting to improve. But now that she's been in the company for 2 years, Lash has exceeded her as far as what they offer in the ring, because she knows what's her strengths. And I agree, like, it is part and part. I give more of the blame to WWE because they haven't booked her well as a singles competitor. I think they did a good job. In retrospect, they did a good job by placing her in a tag team. and making Bianca do most of the work to hide her weaknesses. But when you make that only a 1 year thing and then immediately put her into the singles, like you're basically throwing her into the deep end and seeing if she can swim when you really haven't taught her how to swim yet.
Yeah, it's again, it's one of those things where it's like it's very unfortunate because I think we all want to get behind Jade. I think she looks amazing, right? She looks like a fucking superhero, you
Yeah.
know. Obviously, like her work when it comes to like her physique, when it comes to stuff like that. Obviously, she puts in the work in that, right? And I'm not saying that she's not putting in the work into wrestling. Sometimes you could train all you want, and then sometimes it just you won't see the results. So I don't question her work ethic. It's one of those things again where it's like we said before, like there's people who they get into the business and sometimes it just doesn't work out. Obviously a big part of Jade is what she brings to the table. She's you know again, like we said, like when you look at her, like she looks fucking incredible, but besides that it's just and that's why I never want to downplay in that situation where it's like, oh, I question that she's doing this or that, or I don't think she has her heart is into it, just because like that's a personal thing that I don't know, and I don't think that's right for somebody like me to question that, unless if it was like one of those things where somebody mentally checks out, then you could probably check it, then you could probably question that. I don't think she's not in that situation at all, but it's just when we got to critique and we got to criticize, we just got to do it. That's all it really is for me.
And Clown says WWE may have done a disservice, but she could help herself out. Natty runs the school. Go spend some of your own time in the dungeon and train. We don't know if she's spending her off time training. She may be doing that, but she just is not is when the lights are on and her only matches are going to be on TV because they cut down on house shows. Like she's not getting in the reps. Like if she was in NXT, she would be in the performance center all the time. She's basically obligated to work in the performance center all the time. That's why I'm saying that WWE did her a disservice. Yeah, she could do all of that stuff, and she could be doing all that stuff. But it is a disservice at the end of the day to not be training in the performance center every day if you're gonna get this type of push.
Yeah, and then also even if you're on NXT TV, even if you have your flaws on NXT TV, it's more forgivable because we've seen it late. Like there's been times where there's talents that they really fuck up on so bad on NXT TV. Like I think recently was like that pin fall that I was like, what the fuck was that? Like somebody missed a pin and they still got pinned to win the match. It happens on TV, right? But at least on NXT, it's more forgivable because we still understand, like, yeah, a lot of these people are still green, they're still learning. So at least she would have gotten more of a pass on that aspect. But the fact that you shot her straight to the main roster and then do what you've been doing, it's just like, it puts her in a tough spot, and it's very unfortunate, all around.
My God, Diana says Queen of the Ring lineage is kind of crazy. Zelina, Naya, and Jade. And Craig says that's what I was saying yesterday. When Naya's the best worker, we got problems.
Oh my god,
That's wild. That's wild.
oh damn.